In this video, we will be talking specifically about pronouns. In order to fully understand pronoun antecedent agreement, we need to review what a pronoun and the different types of pronouns are first. So, what is a pronoun? It's obviously a noun that went pro, of course. I am just kidding. That is just a joke. Do not write that down. Ms. Kreider is just joking. Don't write it down. So, what is a pronoun actually? A pronoun is a word used in place of one or more nouns or pronouns. The example that I have is he went to the living room to get it. He and it are bolded in this sentence because they are replacing one or more nouns. Okay? It also helps to tell us the point of view in writing. When we review point of view, pronouns are going to be so important to help us identify, is it first person, second person, or third person point of view. The other important aspect of pronouns that you need to know is the word antecedent, okay? So this will come into play when we talk about pronoun antecedent agreement. But an antecedent is a word that the pronoun stands in for. So basically, it is that noun that the pronoun is replacing. So the example that I give you is Miss Kreider went to the store. She bought milk, okay? If I would have written, Miss Kreider went to the store, Miss Kreider bought milk, that's kind of redundant, okay? We don't want to be too repetitious with things like this. So, the antecedent in this case is Miss Kreider, because the pronoun she is standing in for Miss Kreider in the second sentence. You could, as I said, replace she with Miss Kreider and it would still make sense. It would just be more redundant. So, there are 7 types of pronouns that we need to know. They are personal, reflexive, intensive, demonstrative, interrogative, reflexive, and indefinite. Okay? The big ones for especially pronoun antecedent agreement are personal and indefinite. But we need to know all of them. They are all good to know because we will be using them throughout the year. So the first type is personal pronouns. This is what I consider the basic type of pronouns. When you were in elementary school, talking about pronouns, this is what they were referring to. So a personal pronoun refers to the one that is speaking, aka first person, the one being spoken to, which is second person, or the one being spoken about, which is third person. So these personal pronouns include I, me, my, mine, we, us, our, and ours. Those are all first person personal. Second person personal include you, your, and yours. And third person includes he, him, his, she, her, hers, it, its, they, them, their, and theirs. Those are all of the personal pronouns that we will be using. These are the ones that are important for identifying point of view. The next 2 are reflexive and intensive. And these are interesting because they have the same pronouns. They're just used in a different way. So a reflexive pronoun refers to the subject and functions as a complement or an object of the preposition, okay? This definition will make more sense once we do parts of a sentence, but basically, reflexive pronouns can be used within a prepositional phrase. The object of a preposition is what comes in the prepositional phrase. And intensive pronouns emphasizes a noun or another pronoun. As I said, they have the same form. You're going to see intensive pronouns a lot more often. A good example of an intensive pronoun would be she did the assignment herself. Okay? It's emphasizing that she, in this case, the other pronoun, did it herself. Okay? So these reflexive and intensive pronouns that share the same form also come in first, second, and third person. First person would be myself or ourselves. Second person would be yourself or yourselves. And third person would be himself, herself, itself, and themselves. Okay? These are all of the reflexive and intensive pronouns. And once again, once we get to parts of a sentence, we'll use reflexive pronouns a lot more often. I just want to bring it to your attention at this point so that you know all of the types. Next is demonstrative pronouns. So these point out a person, place, thing, or idea. That's when you say, look at that, okay? You're pointing out a specific person, place, thing, or idea when you say, look at that. Or think of that video, look at those. That's a really good example a use of a demonstrative pronoun because you're saying, look at those shoes without saying shoes. You're pointing out a thing. So the 4 demonstrative pronouns that you need to know, or the demonstrative pronouns that you need to know, are this, that, these, and those. Okay? So I said the best example is that video of, look at those. Our next one is interrogative pronouns. These are pronouns that answer a question. So if you're ever not sure, just think about interrogation scenes. If you ever watch a cop show, there's always an interrogation scene, and they always ask questions. So they might ask, what were you doing Friday night? What is being used as an interrogative pronoun? So the 5 of them are what, which, who, whom, or whose. Like, whose house did you go to? Which person did you help? Things like that. Our next one is relative. So these introduce a subordinate clause, okay? Once again, we're not going to talk about subordinate clauses until later in the year, but it's still good to know. So these are basically dependent clauses. So that would be that, which, who, whom, and whose, okay? Once again, I just want you to know these at this point, get the definition down, so that later in the year we can come back and reference this sheet when we actually talk about subordinate clauses. Our last type of pronouns are probably the most important type when we talk about pronoun antecedent agreement, because they all fall into different categories. So indefinite pronouns refer to a person, a place, a thing, or an idea that may or may not be specifically named. So some of them that you might notice below are like all, both, each, most, none. So I could say, or someone. I could say, for example, most of the students finished the benchmark. I'm not being specific which specific students finished the benchmark, but for me, most, pardon the bell, most just refers to the majority of my students are done, but I'm not being specific with which ones. So it basically, without calling out students, by saying that most of my students are done, I'm talking about a general population. It's not specific, but it still refers to a group. As I said, when we talk about pronoun antecedent agreement, these are going to be the ones that we really focus on because they all fall under different categories as to if they're singular pronouns or plural pronouns. So just keep that in mind as we continue through this process. That is everything you need to know at the current moment about pronouns. If you have any questions, please let Ms. Kreider know.